With the blind auditions over, The Voice prepared to hurl contestants into the battle rounds. During each round, 2 contestants from each team would compete for a chance to advance. For Adam Levine, Kelsey Ballerini, John Legend, and Michael Bublé, the pressure started to heat up as they needed to make a tough decision as to who would move forward. For those left behind, they still had a chance of being stolen by another coach. With the battle rounds taking place tonight, The Voice offered fans a taste of what to expect when Darius J and Britton Moore teamed up for a cover of Radiohead's Creep. With Darius J and Moore both part of Levine's team, the rocker watched as the two left it all on The Voice stage when performing Creep. When hitting the last note, the contestants could do nothing more than listen to the feedback offered by more than just Levine. For Ballerini, she said, "I think both of you have a great shot at winning this show. You're not on my team. It makes me sad. Maybe we can change that. I don't know. Darius, there's no one like you. You are just so individual in your voice. All of these little runs, and when you fall off of them, it's just so yummy, and it's so you." Not leaving Britton out, Ballerini added, "Britton, you're like the boy next door, and you make people want to root for you, because they feel they can come knock on your door, and you'd sit on the front porch and play guitar and sing along. I think you're both so incredibly special." The 27th season of The Voice had already promised to be an explosive season filled with surprising twists and performances that would leave viewers speechless. Nevertheless, the spectators were not prepared for the fierce conflict that would take place on stage between Britton Moore and Darius J. Nothing could have prepared them for that. Their performance of Radiohead's haunting classic, Creep, brought a disturbing and evocative interpretation to the stage, setting the tone for a battle that would be spoken about for years to come. Both of them came from different musical backgrounds, yet their rendition of the song was a chilling and beautiful interpretation. Britton Moore and Darius J recreated the legendary rock song in the middle of the competition, as the audience impatiently anticipated the decisions made by the blindfolded coaches. They did this in a way that not only highlighted their individual artistry, but also stretched the boundaries of what viewers expected from The Voice. This specific performance hit with raw emotion and deep contemplation, but the fight structure of the show has always fostered powerful moments of vulnerability and self-expression. However, in this particular performance, every note hit with these feelings. There were numerous rounds of the selection process that the coaches, Michael Bublé, Adam Levine, John Legend, and Kelsey Ballerini had already gone through in order to select participants for their respective teams. The anticipation became more and more evident as the rounds of combat began. Britton Moore, who has a background in soulful country music, and Darius J, a forceful singer who has polished his art in R&B and gospel, were paired together to compete against one another. The pairing appeared to be so perfect that it was almost too wonderful to be true. The song Creep by Radiohead is a fragile and emotionally charged piece of music. How is it possible for two artists who work in such diverse genres to collaborate and create such a song? The song itself is an anthem of alienation, vulnerability, and yearning, and it strikes a chord with listeners on a visceral level because of these characteristics. Every person who is familiar with The Voice knows that it is a difficult task to take a song that is so well known and make it one's own, especially when competing against a broad variety of talented individuals from different backgrounds. Both of the candidates would need to be able to create a profound emotional connection in order to successfully perform the song, which had a melancholy tone. This made the challenge much more difficult. However, the events that took place during the concert would not merely alter the song, rather, they would completely reimagine it. Britton Moore walked the stage with the trademark honesty and quiet presence that he is known for, while the first haunting chord was being played. Britton, who was dressed in a plain and dark clothing, stood in the spotlight. His beautiful voice wove through the first lyrics with a delicate fragility that suggested he was unraveling something that was profoundly personal to him. A vulnerable attitude was taken by Britton when she was performing the song. Even though it was mild, his voice carried a subtle intensity as he sang about the experience of being an outsider, which is exactly what the words depict. He did not attempt to push the notes, rather, he allowed them to flow organically, imbuing each phrase with a real feeling. His delivery possessed an air of subdued force, which resulted in each line's feeling of being more personal than the one that came before it. As the coaches watched, their expressions were a mix of admiration and disbelief as they looked on. Britton had become the voice of alienation, embodying the exact heart of what made Creep so profoundly moving in the first place. It was not merely a country singer performing a famous rock song. Britton had already become the voice of alienation. The mix of his voice, which seemed to combine the eerie tone of Tom York of Radiohead with the sincere rasp of a seasoned country singer, left the audience with a stark and mesmerizing beauty when it was heard. The interpretation that Britton provided felt less like a cover and more like a revelation, a heartbreaking confessional in which the singer exposed his innermost thoughts and feelings to an audience of millions that was listening. Power and fervor, possessed by Darius J. During the beginning of the second part of the performance, Darius J made his entrance onto the stage with the same level of calm commitment. His voice, which was deep and authoritative, entered the mix like a thunderstorm rolling across the sky, so producing a striking contrast to Britton's tone, which was gentle and reflective for the most part. Simply being in the room with Darius was enough to capture everyone's attention entirely. However, the audience was definitely attracted by his voice for the most part. The strategy that Darius took was courageous. He began with the same solemn tone as Britton, but as the song went, he changed the music into a powerful, almost defiant proclamation of inner strength. He made this transformation as the song progressed. The performance of Darius was uninhibited and passionate, and his vocal runs added an unanticipated depth of emotion to the song. In contrast, Britton's voice had been pensive and vulnerable. Scratches ran down the spine as a result of the manner in which he traversed the high notes, each one being maintained with precise precision. The performance that Darius gave seemed to be an act of reclamation, as if he was taking back the grief that was portrayed in the song and transforming it into something triumphant. It was almost as if the act of singing the lyrics itself became an act of resistance. The crowd was left speechless as the two singers blended their voices in the last chorus, which was the most dramatic part of the performance. A harmonic tension was formed as a result of the juxtaposition of Britton's gentle vulnerability and Darius's tremendous, soaring range. This tension represented the whole spectrum of emotions that were expressed by the song. The entire arena was left in a state of amazement as a result of the collaboration between these two voices, which presented a collision of two distinct universes within a common space for expression. The responses of the athletes. It was not only the audience that experienced the emotional impact of the performance, other people did as well. While the coaches, each of whom was a seasoned professional in their own right, watched the conflict develop, they did it with a mixture of admiration and wonder. Despite his reputation for being sensitive and having a wide range of emotions, Michael Bublé appeared visibly moved. He recognized the genuine vulnerability that both Britton and Darius brought to the stage, which was something that he, as a vocalist, had a profound understanding of. The two of you have just revolutionized this music into something completely different. That was more than just a performance, it was an experience, he commented, shaking his head in a serious manner. Adam Levine, who is known for being a shrewd critic every time, couldn't help but smile. The way in which both performers rendered Creep their own, transforming the song's underlying melancholy into something that was both beautiful and haunting, left him with a significant impression. The fact that both of you displayed a glimpse of vulnerability was the aspect of this that I admired the most. Your ability to make the calm times feel more personal, Britton, is quite remarkable. Dear Darius, you have taken the song and imbued it with an incredible amount of power. That was something of a striking contrast. John Legend, whose emphasis on soul and depth of feeling resonates with the emotional heart of the song, continued by saying, "What I heard was two people who understood exactly what it means to be vulnerable and to let that vulnerability be a strength. I just adored the fact that it was a struggle of genuine passion." Regarding the performance, Kelsey Ballerini, who is well known for the profound emotional honesty that she conveys in her music, expressed her admiration. Each of you gave something that is so unmatched to this discussion. You, Britton, made it so sensitive, and you, Darius, made it soar up to the heavens. It was a miracle. This is the verdict. After the performance was over and the audience erupted in applause, the coaches were left with the difficult task of selecting a winner from among the other candidates. Creep had been converted into something that will be remembered for a very long time because to Britton Moore's tender and pained delivery and Darius J's imposing vocal force. A song as well known as this one might be transformed into something completely different, which is a demonstration of the transformational power of music. This moment was a monument to the power of music. It turned out that the performance itself was not the only thing that mattered. It was about two musicians, each of whom brought their own unique identity and passion to a piece of music that so many people had already claimed as their own. Both Britton and Darius demonstrated that they were more than just singers. They were artists who were capable of producing something that transcended genres, something that would be remembered for a very long time after the conclusion of The Voice Season 27. This duel served as an obvious reminder of the enormous talent that The Voice continues to highlight, as well as the incredible ability of two artists, Britton Moore and Darius J, to reimagine a timeless classic in a way that is both chillingly beautiful and utterly captivating.